All right, y'all. We haven't went live in a couple minutes. It's been a while. So I got some really good news. So I wanted to jump on here. We are going to be doing an interview later today that may post today or tomorrow. And that's going to be episode 70 of the Fearless Podcast. So keep your eye out for that. It's going to be really good. I think you're going to like it. I saw this pop up in my news feed. A lot of people have been talking about this, about the issue of what's going on in Idaho. And this just popped up on Reuters today. U.S. loses bid to block Idaho water right forfeiture laws. And so when I was reading this, I called my buddy Timothy, who's been on the podcast. He lives in Idaho. And he was the one that was really kind of filling me in on this water rights deal. And I watched a couple of documentaries on it. It's very, very interesting. But basically what was happening is the feds, because they've absconded all of this BLM land, and it's strategically done to where they've kind of captured all the water, and they're holding everybody hostage. And Timothy's farm is just his family homestead. He's not doing any, he's not farming for a living or anything like that. And he was telling me about how he doesn't even have rights to his own deep well. So if they manage to develop all the land around him, and if his well starts to suffer, he has no rights to his own water. Wow. And he has to apply, and it takes 2 years, all this very interesting stuff. But what they've been doing is they've been choking out the farmers in a lot of different states by manipulating the water. But here, a U.S. judge has rejected the U.S. Department of Justice bid to block Idaho from enforcing laws that provides ranchers a path to take control of water rights the federal government holds for public land it makes available for livestock grazing. But Chief U.S. District Judge David Nye in Boise in Wednesday's ruling said several other laws the state enacted in recent years that restricted the federal government's water rights violated the U.S. Constitution. A spokesperson for Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador, a Republican, in a statement welcoming the ruling. Yeah, because this is like a partisan thing, right? Like access to water so that you can drink and stay alive, and so that you can water your animals and water your crops. Yeah, this is clearly a partisan thing. Like nobody on the other side of the paradigm has to eat or water anything or drink water or anything like that, right? The state has prevailed in its defense of the forfeiture process, the most important issue in the case by far. The court thus upheld the constitutionality of Idaho's forfeiture statutes as they apply to stock water rights the United States acquires under Idaho law. Dan Estes, the spokesperson, said, "Our office is reviewing the balance of the court decision to determine the best course of action forward." The Justice Department declined to comment. I always like the irony of the names of the offices. The Justice, it really should be called the Injustice Department. The complex ruling came in a 2022 lawsuit by the Justice Department challenging laws Idaho enacted from 2017 to 2022. That limited federal agencies' ability to acquire and retain water rights on millions of acres of land managed by the U.S. Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management. And for those of you in the United States of amnesia that forget that before the urban takeover before that BLM, prior to that, there was another BLM that's been involved in just absconding land from the citizenry, stealing land from farmers. Think the Bundys, Lavoie Finicum, and all these different things. That was all BLM, Bureau of Land Management. The case stems from a decades-long legal process Idaho initiated that culminated in 2014 to sort out water rights within one of the largest watersheds in North America, the Snake River Basin. Amid that process, questions emerged about the federal government's ability to hold water rights for cattle, with some ranchers arguing that because the federal agencies did not own the livestock, they were not putting the water to beneficial use as legally required. And Idaho Supreme Court had addressed these questions in 2007 by holding a cattle rancher could establish a water right on federal land for livestock if the rancher had authority to access the land for grazing, and that BLM must put water to beneficial use itself to establish its own right to the water. Idaho lawmakers subsequently began enacting a series of laws modifying its water right policies in light of the ruling. The Justice Department said the laws went beyond what the state high court ruled, prompting the lawsuit. The laws included a requirement that federal agencies themselves own cattle in order to acquire water rights for livestock use, known as stock water rights, and provided a means via the Idaho Department of Water Resources for ranchers to gain control of those rights through a forfeiture process. The Justice Department argued those laws threatened to undermine a congressionally authorized federal grazing program under which livestock owners with permits can graze cattle on federal land in Idaho. Nye, an appointee of the Republican former President Donald Trump, agreed that the law requiring federal agencies to own cattle and two other statutes targeting their rights discriminated against the federal government in violation of the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause. But the judge declined to block the forfeiture-related laws, which established that unused water rights would be forfeited after 5 years of non-use and provided new procedures for rights to be forfeited. Nye said those laws treat the federal government no differently than any other water rights owner, and that the laws did not unconstitutionally undermine the reasonable expectations of contractual bargains entered into when it settled its claims with other water users a decade ago. So I do think that this is unmitigated good news. We'll see how the state of Idaho continues to proceed. And, you know, we're praying for all of our farmers and ranchers because we like to eat and because we are farmers and ranchers.
Mhm.
And hopefully they continue to push forward and give these law-abiding citizens that are just trying to be left alone and just trying to drink water and water their farms and water their animals. Hopefully this continues to be a move in the right direction. And we just have a lot of great stuff that's going on here on our homestead.
Yep.
Speaking of water, we are going to be finally installing a deep water well here. So we're going to have some water sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be like 600 or 700 foot well. It's going to be really awesome fresh water. And they're real proud of their wells down here.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be, it's a critical investment for us to have our own fresh water, control our own fresh water, and not have to worry about filtering out all the insane chemicals that they put into the sewage water to make it so that people think it's drinkable. We won't have to worry about fluoride.
Mm-hmm.
We won't have to worry about chloramine and all these off gases as the chloramine breaks down on the way to your property and all that crazy stuff. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Matt has some other awesome stuff going on the new property, some construction and whatnot. So hopefully he finds the time to document that in video form for y'all, not just in shorts, but maybe in some longer form, documentary style type cool stuff. But I wanted to jump on here real quick and talk about this article. This is some unmitigated good news. And I wanted to check. I'm just testing out our audio video. I apologize for our last podcast. The audio was trashed because we deal with all these AV demons or whatever. And I just can't shake these things. So I want to remind y'all of our meetup. The first Saturday in September 7th from 10 to 12 at Bob Wells Nursery at Sorella Farms in Mineola, Texas. And it is going to be another potluck. We had a great time last month. This one's going to be even better. Everyone's a little bit better. And I wanted to remind you all of that. And for any of our locals, we get asked all the time about beef fat and bone stock for like bone broth
and organs.
Yeah. And we have a plethora of all that. I think we're going to be bringing it for sale to the meetup. So for any of y'all locals or anybody that's coming to the meetup, shoot us an email. I think it's all frozen. We're going to bring some coolers. We're going to have that available. Is there anything else? The new website should be up soon,
pretty soon. Yeah.
With the new coffee lines and all that's available with the new purchasing options. So we're getting all that stuff ironed out. We're very close. You're going to really love the new website. The functionality is going to work much better. The cart's going to work much better. There are going to be more options and more great stuff. And it's exciting. I wanted to announce that. Is there anything else, Matt, that we want to announce?
Yes. Well, there is actually one last thing. We do have 2 steers available, and they're on the website right now for deposit. So you can go ahead and leave a deposit if you are in the Northeast Texas area and you want some grass-fed, grain-finished beef.
And they will be they'll be finished like early to mid-October.
Yes. Yep. Correct. And we sell wholes, halves, and quarters.
And keep your eye out on our shorts because we got some just like beautifully, incredibly marbled prime ribs and sykes and likes and such as. And so you're going to be seeing me air fry them for the next couple months or so, as beef is what's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's what we're doing here, and we're feeling great. And just wanted to jump on here real quick. I hope y'all are having a blessed day and enjoying this beautiful weather. And I think that's all for now.
That's it. All right.
Texas Boys out. We'll see you over at the Fearless Podcast. Y'all have a blessed day.